For the first time in American history, the court ruled immigration judges can no longer grant bond for undocumented immigrants who entered the U.S. without authorization, all but guaranteeing mandatory detention for those detained.
Some good news. There was a change within the last 24 hours in how the immigration courts run in terms of whether a migrant brought before an immigration court judge can simply be released by that judge, essentially on their own recognizance. So keep in mind, deportation proceedings are not criminal proceedings. These are considered civil offenses against the U.S. government, unless some additional criminal offense has occurred. These are civil proceedings. They're overseen by executive branch administrative judges, immigration judges, and often an illegal migrant will appear before an immigration judge, and maybe there's a continuance, or maybe, who knows, they have to come back another day, and the immigration judges routinely release these people back into the public. They've been lawfully detained by ICE authorities. They're brought before an immigration judge. The immigration judge decides she's not making a decision today, and they just release these people back into the wild. And ICE just has to go arrest them again. They're out there committing more crimes. We know all these countries emptied out their prisons to send all these people to the U.S. ICE did a raid recently. I think it was on a flea market, and they arrested 5 people there. And it was a raid for child predation. So they set up a fake child account on social media, and these creeps arranged to come meet the child for inappropriate purposes. They drew in five of these cretins, these child predators, into this trap, and 2 of the 5 were illegal migrants. 40%. It reminds me of the joke about the Kyle Rittenhouse case where, Kyle went to a progressive fascist protest, shot 3 people, and one of them was what? One of them was a pedo. One of them was a violent criminal. The other one was a spouse abuser. What are the odds? Out of a huge crowd of thousands of people, you shoot 3 progressive fascists, and they all turn out to be heinous criminals. So now the change in plan is that illegals, once they're detained, brought before an immigration judge, they remain detained until they are deported. They are not released back out into the wild. Let's hear this report here.
Country, a change to how immigration laws are enforced could mean anyone arrested will remain detained until they are deported. But some attorneys are now pushing back. This week, the federal government set in court.
By the way, I have to say, what kind of room is this? This is supposed to be about immigration courts? This is not an immigration court. This is like some weird church setup, isn't it? Whoever was in charge of the graphics for this news station, 7i team. You need a better person picking out your graphics.
Some attorneys are now pushing back. This week, the federal government set in court that since July, more than 1,800 people have been arrested in the Chicago area. But having their day in court is not a guarantee. The immigration court is convoluted. It does not fall under the judicial branch. It falls under the executive branch. Separate from criminal court, a person's rights are much more limited.
Yes, you get due process. It's just that the process to which you are due is extremely limited.
ABC 7 chief legal analyst Gil Sofer.
The proceedings in an immigration court, they're not criminal, they're civil. The question isn't whether someone has committed a crime. The question is whether they can be deported. And the rights are different.
Now, a new immigration court directive could keep people detained much longer before they're deported. In September, the Board of Immigration Appeals, the top administrative body which interprets and applies immigration laws, released a new decision. For the first time in American history, the court ruled immigration judges can no longer grant bond for undocumented immigrants who entered the U.S. without authorization, all but guaranteeing mandatory detention for those detained.
It is a monumental decision. It's a change in approach for sure.
DHS calling the ruling, quote, a big win for our ICE attorneys, securing our ability to detain illegal aliens until they are deported. But
now there's still a big loophole because it only applies to aliens who came in without authorization. Of course, the Biden administration let in millions of illegal migrant third world aliens. All they had to do was say the word asylum at the border, and they would be let in with an asylum waiver. So they were let in with authorization. Anyone who's here on a student visa, a work visa, a tourist visa, and overstays was let in with authorization. So unfortunately, this rule change doesn't apply to any of those people, which is millions and millions of people of illegal migrant third world invaders. But nevertheless, it's a step in the right direction.
But immigration advocates and attorneys say it's a total sea change.
It overturned decades of.
Oh my God! Can someone buy this woman a hairbrush and and an AA membership?
Of case law, of regulations and laws.
Judge Payton is a former assistant chief immigration judge who was fired by the Trump administration this past July. She says without cause. Now she's in private practice and says undocumented.
You think Trump would say he didn't have cause, or do you think Trump would say he had cause to fire her? He didn't just wake up that morning and flip a coin and decide to fire this woman, right?
People seeking a bond hearing have to hire an attorney like her to file petitions in federal court outside of immigration court to try to get relief.
Demanding that the federal courts review the decision of the immigration court and tell them that they're.
So essentially, that'll be a habeas hearing in federal court, which of course enormously raises the time, the complexity, the cost of these illegal migrants who by definition entered the country without authorization have to go through in order to try to get a bond that has already been denied by the immigration courts. So that's all good news. More good news on the Antifa front. It's immigration adjacent, of course. Antifa is mostly protesting these days over ICE activities. Frontlines TPUSA, this is Charlie Kirk's, the former Charlie Kirk's organization, tells us that federal authorities are targeting Antifa domestic terror groups across the nation and are now going after their funding sources. This is all in line with the mandate to go after their logistics and not just their tactics. All to the good. In this multiple part investigation, Frontline goes undercover to expose Oakland and Seattle's anarchist book fairs, where you get more than just a good read. You get trained and indoctrinated in how to be a progressive fascist enemy of our constitutional order. Look at all the masks. I'm not going to play the whole video for all of you because it's like 6 minutes long, but great work by TP USA. JH became a member of the channel. That means JH will be able to join us not just for this open access show, which we're all watching right now, but also for the bonus show. That's actually going to start in just a few minutes because I've run through what I wanted to cover in the main show. The bonus show is going to look at some other interesting news topics. A lot of the lies of the media, like the lie that Kristi Noem was purchased 2 jets by the government for her personal use, the lies, the propaganda about the White House, construction work that's being done, and the kind of people the liberals choose to communicate to the American public about that construction project. Lies from the Democrats about who's really responsible for the government shutdown. Lies about how these immigrants are being brought in mass numbers from third world hellholes into American towns and communities to destroy them utterly. The positive benefits that will inevitably result for any first world nation that remigrates third world savages out of their borders. News about how, which we all know intuitively, but it's nice to see actual reporting on it, that high crime and violence is a policy choice. It need not be this way. People are making decisions to have that happen. We are making decisions to allow illegal migrants to run up consumer debt and purchase homes in our nation. We are making decisions to allow violent Africans to come into America and threaten and harm American citizens. And none of this is necessary. It's all a policy choice. We could simply make different decisions, policy decisions, and have an infinitely safer American nation. Those are the news stories I have, the topics I have to share with all of you in the bonus show, which we're going to flip over to right now.